Të nderuar teleshikues, ju gjatë jeta, në kuadër të VIP intervistës në studio, sonte kemi një mysafir të veçantë që vjen nga Amerika, është asistenti i zyrës për marrëdhënie me publikun pranë ambasadës amerikane në Kosovë, zoti Nayler, me të cilin do të bisedojmë për programet kulturore që I përkrah qeveria shërbave në Kosovë. Zoti Nayler, mirë se vini në studion e televizionit Tema. Welcome.
Thank you.
What is the purpose of the visit today in Ferizaj?
So I had an idea to go with my team to every single municipality in Kosovo in the first 6 to 9 months of my time here. I just arrived in August, and this is a part of that idea that what we really need to do is go out to the country and see every place that we can to determine sort of what Kosovo's needs are so that we can make ourselves smarter and be better at designing programming that really fits people's needs, rather than just sitting behind our desks in Pristina and trying to imagine what people need. So that's why we're here.
That's what Americans do, actually.
Right.
And today in Ferizaj, specifically?
So specifically, we came here to meet with some of our partners. We worked a lot with the Mural Fest, and we also wanted to talk to new people, partners that we haven't spoken to before, and just introduce ourselves and get a sense of what's going on in Ferizaj. You know, I think in order to understand a place, you need to really walk its streets, just the same as, you know, you meet people face to face, you meet places by really being in them, and that's why we're here.
Yeah. What is the overall level of cultural exchange between the USA and Kosovo? What is the role of U.S. Embassy in facilitating that exchange?
So we have lots and lots of different exchanges. So we've got exchanges like Fulbright, or like YES, or like other, the programs are too numerous to mention, IVLP, et cetera, where we send Kosovars to the United States for professional, for educational, for cultural exchanges. We've sent over 3,000 Kosovars to the United States on those exchanges since we opened the embassy here. But additionally, we have exchanges where we bring Americans over to Kosovo, or we sponsor grants that support things like the Mural Fest, which we've supported every year. Or we have we've grants that we support television stations like this one, for example, or radio stations, or journalism. We also have American corners. So it's almost limitless, and it's all in my portfolio, which means that my work days are very packed.
Can you handle them all?
I can handle them all because my team is really good. I'm very lucky to work with some of the smartest people I've ever worked with before, so I think together we're able to handle the load most days.
You mentioned a variety of cultural programs, whether cultural exchange, education support, preservation, and national heritage. What is your view on the outcome of these programs? What are the results to your view?
Well, I think that the results are very long-term. These things are some of the hardest things to measure. The results of cultural exchange are difficult to quantify, but certainly we see that exchange programs change people's worldview, that they come back from their experience in the United States and they do amazing things here in Kosovo. I know that Peace Corps volunteers who live here in Kosovo do extraordinary things to help people. The exchange is on an individual level, but individual exchange results quite often in societal change over time. So while it's difficult to quantify exactly, I think that you see that change when you talk to someone who's experienced an exchange in the United States, and you sort of see how they've developed as a person, what they've brought back to Kosovo, and what they've learned and achieved afterwards. Then you really are able to see that this is having an impact.
You've been here, you said, since August. Can you name maybe specific projects that you can highlight as traditional success story? You mentioned Mural Fest. What are the other projects that comes to your mind?
So I would say that one of the projects that or one of the exchange programs that I'm most enthusiastic about is the YES program. You know, Kosovo has 20 slots on the YES program, I believe, this year, which for a country of Kosovo's size is actually a very large number, and that's 20 20 citizens of Kosovo that get to spend a year in the United States going to a U.S. high school and living with a U.S. family and experiencing sort of what it's like to be an American for a year, and then come back here to Kosovo and share that experience with others. This is a life-changing opportunity, and I really think it's probably one of the sort of flagship programs that the State Department sponsors, of course funded by the American taxpayer completely, and as you can imagine, it's quite an investment, but I think it's worth every penny. So that's one that I would highlight. I mean, another program is Fulbright. Mm-hmm. We bring over a lot of specialists and professors here to enrich Kosovo's education system. Mm-hmm. And we also send a lot of Kosovar professors and students to the United States. I think these things have huge impact. It's not something maybe that people think about every day, and it's not something that's going to change the world tomorrow. But Fulbrighters have been, there's over 100 leaders, heads of state have been Fulbrighters. So, you know, it's actually quite, not Fulbrighters, sorry, but Fulbright IVLP, US alumni writ large. That's a huge number when you think about it. And I think that they were probably better leaders because of the experience they had just being outside of their country and seeing another way of doing things.
We forgot to mention the Millennium Corporation has recently sent 20 teenage girls from Kosovo mm-hmm. to study in the States for the energy, becoming engineers in energy sector. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is the role? Do you have any role in that, or is it more like Congress-based?
So I don't personally know. That's not under my portfolio, but I would say that we share similar mission goals with the Millennium Challenge Corporation, in the sense that one thing that's really important to us is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, STEAM. We're adding art into it as well, because it's also an important element, and especially seeing young women entering those fields, because really, if you're only operating, if only 50% of the country is in a field, then you're losing half your potential, right? So part of the goal is it's not just to focus energy on young women per se, it's to make sure that everyone is getting the opportunity to achieve, right? Everyone is represented equally.
U.S. government, we mentioned that you mentioned a lot of programs that support undergraduate and graduate programs. What is the magnitude of support for this year or for next year? I mean, whether scholarships or assistance to the universities, or what is the role of U.S. Embassy? Because I know mm-hmm. students contact directly universities who apply directly for the scholarship.
Right.
What is the role of U.S. Embassy? Is there any role there?
So we do give a number of grants under our University Support Grant Program directly to universities in Kosovo. So that's one element. Mm-hmm. Another element is, of course, people apply to universities in the United States. We help people apply via Education USA, which is located at the University of Pristina. They can guide people through that process. They can also help them with test prep for the SAT and other tests that people need to take for U.S. universities. They have also programs where they go to high school students and start preparing them early for applying to U.S. universities. So there's that. There's also the Fulbright Program. And the Fulbright Program this is for graduate students, but it's also, keep in mind that the Fulbright Program is sending U.S. English teaching assistants to Kosovo, and that also has a big impact on Kosovo's education system, because they're interacting with students, they're doing teacher training, etc. We have specialists who are working with Kosovo on the accreditation issue, on restructuring the syllabus, etc., working with departments on improving education. So there's many things that we're doing, and it's almost difficult to quantify, because there's so many ways in which we're interacting with Kosovo's education system at every level. And then we have the Access Program. When you're talking about programs for kids in secondary school, the Access Program is a program that provides kids with after-school English. We've got USAID, I know, runs an after-school program called Asset. I mean,
that's in Pristina.
Asset is all over the country. Access is all over the country as well. It's in different cities every year. So it's a grant that people apply for, and then organizations get it and are able to open up open it up in their communities.
We mentioned there are a few U.S. cultural corners in Kosovo, where Kosovo students and children can learn and touch base with American culture in a more direct manner.
Right.
Are you continuing to support that program? Is there an interest to have such corner in Ferzai, for instance, in a municipality with a U.S. Army base in its nearby location?
I mean, I would love to have an American corner, if I could, in every single municipality in Kosovo.
What are the prerequisites to have such a corner?
It's something that needs to receive support from the State Department. It's there's a long process for it, but yeah, I think this would be a great place to do something like that. Right now we have 3 in Kosovo, which is a lot for a country this size. But yeah, I would love to see.
Interest is high. Is that
interest is very high, I think, and I think that, the corners that we have, they do very well. These spaces are places where people can come to, access lots of information about the United States, also about U.S. universities, but also just access the internet. Or gather together for clubs, and I think they're an amazing resource. I think that the center in Pristina, which is being renovated right now, after it reopens, I would invite people to come and take a look. It's going to be a fantastic place, 2x, 3 times as great as it was before, and it was already really popular and doing well.
Kosovo has a lot of historical heritage and still is missing its seat in UNESCO. Can you disclose to our viewers what are the efforts of U.S. government to assist Kosovo institutions so they can earn for our country an international recognition in the world of cultural heritage? Is there any support given to the Kosovo institutions towards, affiliation in UNESCO? Because it's really hurting for us not to be there.
So I can mention a few things that we're doing to preserve cultural heritage here in Kosovo. We have an Ambassadors Fund for Cultural Preservation, which has helped to stabilize or reconstruct several sites in Kosovo. Right now they're working at the Patriarchate in Peja in order to just analyze the damage being done to the frescoes by humidity, etc., so to help with a stabilization program there. We also have a grant that we gave to the museum in Peja because that building has problems with wiring and moisture, etc. And as one of the few surviving Ottoman 2-storied houses in the city, it's a very important cultural artifact. We've done a lot with physical infrastructure. We've also done a lot, I think, to try to promote tourism in Kosovo. And Kosovo does have a rich heritage, and it has a lot of cultural sites worth preserving. I think a lot of international effort is going into those things. I think it's something that Kosovo is taking seriously. Actually, I've been in other countries where it isn't taken quite as seriously. I think people are very aware of how important that heritage is. As far as membership in UNESCO, of course, that's an extremely complicated issue, and it's not something that I'm working on directly, so I can't really speak to it in detail. But I think that we are doing quite a lot here.
Kosovo is showcasing the potential of its youth also in international sports, which is more articulated in judo and European football.
Right.
But there is a lack of maybe experience in organizing the sport itself, the clubs and the federations and the relations, international relations. Is there any efforts in that direction, or initiatives, or requests, demands from the local sports clubs in that direction?
So we're already doing it, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes, we have been. So one of the associations that we work closely with is Kosovo's Basketball Association, and when we've sent them to the United States on exchanges. We've got many programs with them. And a pretty close relationship, actually, for years now. And I think it's something that, to be honest, the United States is not a European football power yet, and maybe that's not our greatest area of expertise. Somewhat embarrassing.
It's progressing,
right? We're progressing. We're getting there. We're maybe a little bit behind Kosovo, but maybe you could send people to the United States to help us out a little bit with that. But no, it's something that we're already working on. And sports is very important. But it's important for me to stress that for me, international sports is about international recognition and integration for Kosovo. And then for me, sports writ large is about values. And it's about sportsmanship. It's about teaching youth how to shake the hand of the person who defeated you, to win politely without gloating, etc. It's really, sport by itself is just a game, but sports connects to human values in a way that for Americans that I think is very important. That's why sports are so present in American schools, is because we're trying to teach leadership, teamwork, dedication, those sorts of things via sport.
Kosovo in the past few years has received negative points in its education system. Mm-hmm. Accreditation agency had a setback in international level. We had bad reports from UNDP on the level of education in Kosovo in terms of their evaluation. Mm-hmm. We had the PISA tests also. Mm-hmm. They were not very good.
Right.
What kind of changes would you see necessary for us as a society to have a better and faster progress in producing better equipped students in terms of the academic level?
I think, first of all, Kosovo needs to find a way to better align its higher education and vocational training with the job market. And this is something that we're working to help Kosovo do, but it's not, of course, something that we can do for the education system, but we are trying to devote resources to helping with the accreditation issue, as I mentioned before, and then also with helping align the needs of Kosovo's young people with an education that is going to get them employed globally and locally. And I think that that means a lot of things. It means after-school clubs that build capacities for students, right, from a very young age, that teach them that learning can be fun and interesting and that it's a part of their whole life and not just something that you do in class. That means better STEM education for everyone. That means curricula that makes sense for the job market, etc. I really think that Kosovo, like Switzerland, right, is a country that really needs to rely on humans as its main resource, and its people, right, that are going to drive Kosovo forward. I see an enormous amount of energy here and optimism, but you're right, the education system has flaws. It's also important to keep in mind that it's a very young country. These things do take time. There are burdens that have been passed on from the systems that existed before that weren't aligned with international systems. There's a lot of different reasons that those problems exist. But I think that at every level we're trying to help. At the primary school level to make sure that kids are getting access to good English teaching instruction. At the secondary school level to make sure that kids are getting access to technology and learning robotics and doing other things after school. And at the university level, working with the universities to try to restructure their system to align it with the job market.
There has been a concern about lack of investments in Kosovo. Are there any plans, or what can Kosovo new government do, or what can institutions do, or even people do in order to enable faster or expose better Kosovo as an investment potential?
Right. Well, I went to the Innovation Center in Kosovo, and I saw people there, young people working online with companies located in the U.S., for example. So I know that there's already connections being built, but I'll speak sort of generally about this, which is that, of course, the United States government doesn't control the investment of business in Kosovo. And the things that need to be done are both obvious and difficult, right? There need to be good, clear laws in place that are always enforced in a clear and fair manner. There needs to be attention given to corruption here in Kosovo, just like anywhere else in the world. It's an issue that's probably one of the most important. There needs to be a workforce here which I think is being built, right? And that's about aligning the university system to the job market. And there needs to be good advertisement from the side of the government of Kosovo and from civil society of Kosovo as a place that is worthy of investment. There are other geopolitical issues, of course, which I'm not going to speak about because they're sort of outside of my purview. But I would say, as someone interested in educational development and cultural affairs, really, the building blocks are largely already in place, but attention needs to be given to transparency, right? Stability. People need to feel like they're going to get a return on their investment, always be treated fairly by the judiciary, right? And like this is a stable investment environment with workers who are well prepared to do the jobs they need them to do. And when those things are in place, I think the investment will follow.
What would be your message to the high school students here in Kosovo? Because there's a lot of kids and families that are escaping currently Kosovo from now. They don't see a perspective here.
Sure. Well, my message would be that I do see a future here. I think Kosovo is very dynamic. I think that there really is great opportunity here. And I think that they shouldn't judge the future according to the situation today. Things change. They get better. They should remain optimistic. But I like to say, it's good to be a realistic optimist, meaning that you remain optimistic about the future, but you do the things today to prepare yourself, for all the sort of bumps along the way. They need to pay attention to their critical thinking skills, their knowledge of the rest of the world, their language skills are extremely important. And I think that right now they need to always be watching sort of where tomorrow's jobs are going to be and where tomorrow's opportunities are going to be. And if they do those things, I think that they will do well. And hopefully Kosovo can keep as many of them here as possible, because I do think that's really essential to Kosovo's success, is keeping those minds here. And part of that is deserving them, right? By creating opportunities for them. I mean, that's how you retain your citizens, by doing the things that make it so that they can live here and having opportunities. And I think that, I can't imagine that anyone really wants to leave their country behind if there is opportunity to stay and be successful. If they feel there's opportunity.
At the end of this interview, I would really thank you for your visit today and wish you all the best in your cultural programs.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for hosting us. We really appreciate your time.
Të nderuar shikues, ishte ky asistenti I zyrës për marrëdhënie me publikun pranë ambasadës amerikane në Kosovë, zoti Nayler, me të cilin biseduam për disa aspekte kulturore të asistencës amerikane në Kosovë. Ju falemnderit për vëmendje.